So hi Lou, a very warm welcome to Lou Taylor, who's our brilliant Family Arts Ambassador for the Bristol Family Arts Network. And as well as being the Bristol Ambassador, Lou is Events and Marketing Officer at Children's Scrap Store, which is an organisation that's been at the very heart of resourcing creativity in Bristol for 30 years and is the lead org for our Bristol Family Arts Network. Over the last 10 years, the Scrap Store's actually developed into a delivery organisation and supported infrastructure for reuse, arts and play across the region. So Lou works to programme, market and deliver creative activities for events for children and families in the on-site workshop space and on locations across Bristol City. But over the past year in particular, Children's Scrap Store has been beavering away, creating thousands of physical arts packs to be distributed to family in need and other groups. It's been a really Herculean effort to see from afar, and ones that come about alongside partnerships with many organisations across Bristol and the wider South West region. Lou's worked her way to family arts via roles in education and the creative industries, but working with and on behalf of families combine many things that Lou is very enthusiastic about, encouraging playfulness and creativity for all ages, supporting family cohesion and well-being, and widening participation. So Lou, just to kick us off, it'd be great to actually just hear a bit more about what you were doing before you joined the Ambassador Programme and started that in October 2019.
Sure. Okay, so I worked in the arts, charity and education sectors. So I started working in a photo library, so kind of working creatively with photos in a publishing context. And then I trained as a primary school teacher, and through that realised that my interests really lay in informal education, kind of alternative settings, and sort of with a creative leaning. And then I found this role at Children's Scrap Store, which really encapsulates all of those things that I'm interested in. And in terms of Scrap Store, so the last few years, we've been working to expand our offer, to appeal to lots and lots of different user groups. But families have been our first and our core user group throughout that time. And we've been involved in the Bristol Family Arts Network for several years. And that's been our route to the Ambassador Programme.
Fabulous. Yeah, such a brilliant organisation and so well placed. It's working right at the heart of the network in Bristol. So obviously it's been a really challenging year, past year or so, to say the least. COVID's had some quite universal impacts across a lot of the arts sector and family arts engagement across the UK, but obviously region to region, organisation to organisation, everyone's faced their own particular challenges. So it'd be great to hear a little bit about how, first of all, Children's Scrap Store and also the wider Bristol network's been impacted by COVID and the adaptations that have been made. Also to hear about any opportunities that the pandemic may have presented.
Yeah, so as you say, I think it's affected organisations in different ways, but with much overlap. So the sort of obvious challenges around income and consequently staffing restructure. I think that's something that most organisations have shared, as well as the difficulty in the stop-start nature of restrictions. It's made it really difficult, I think, for organisations to plan and maintain momentum with the plans that they're trying to get up and running. So that's real common ground, I think. But as you suggested, I think there probably have been some unexpected positive elements within the negative. So I think for us, it's really sharpened focus around what's important. It's given us space to plan and reflect and strategize. And across the sector in Bristol, I think we've seen people gaining new skills and perhaps realizing that as organizations, we're more flexible than we thought. There's been lots of great digital content, lots of online workshops. It doesn't seem like anybody has stood still. There's been lots happening behind the scenes, and I think also partnership working, so that's something that we've done a lot of in the last year, in terms of pack production, so creative resource packs going out through community partners to people who would benefit from them, who need that resource, and that's really puts us in touch with those smaller organisations that we didn't necessarily know about or know as much as we do now. Those organisations that know their communities very well and can channel the resources where they're best placed.
Yeah, it's been some brilliant work that I've seen from afar that you guys have been doing over the past months and well over a year now, actually. And talking about No One Standing Still, it was great to hear that. I remember when you set up kind of a volunteer body to start putting together the packs, physical arts packs, quite early on in the pandemic. And I think you had fellow kind of sector professionals who maybe were furloughed and volunteering to put together those packs. So really, yeah, it was really nice, even though they themselves couldn't be involved in the normal work they would otherwise have been doing, coming together in a different way to help families, which was really heartening to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been a really big thing for us as well, because we've always had a volunteer program, but it's really taken on a new energy in this time.
Yeah, so brilliant. So it'd be great to hear a bit about, from your perspective, what you think family audiences in the city have gained from the Ambassador programme.
So firstly, having the standards, the family arts standards in place as a sort of reference point and foundation for arts organisations, it just encourages organisations to put the measures in place that will ensure families have a positive experience and want to come back and have a connection over time with that organisation or organisations. So secondly, going back to resource packs, we're always talking about thinking about widening participation and diversity. And I think that those community connections that we were just talking about have allowed us to bring the arts and creativity to those families that we would have been targeting if we were having in-person events. It's kind of given us this channel to reach those families and make that connection, which firstly, we very much hope that has had a positive impact on those families in the moment, but we also hope that that's a connection that will last and we'll have repeated connections with those families in those hard to reach communities, and perhaps run events in their areas and also in cultural spaces, kind of bridging the gap between communities and the centre where many of the cultural organisations are.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it's so great to hear, and similarly I've had echoes across from similar other networks and organisations of this kind of silver lining, as it were, of the pandemic, of reaching and forming connections with these kind of hyper-local community organisations that maybe prior to the pandemic it might have taken quite some time to grow those relationships and establish them, but because everyone was kind of, you saw this really wonderful collaborative coming together spirit of, how can we act together quickly, collaboratively combine resources, knowledge, understanding to reach communities, families in need in this instance. So it's really lovely to hear about that happening in Bristol, and like you say, hopefully those relationships will endure and take on different forms in the future to come. They're really wonderful. Just finally, so obviously you are a lovely ambassador leading the network there, but if you were to be giving advice or perhaps any pearls of wisdom to anyone thinking about collaboratively working as Family Arts Network, what would they be?
So collaborations work quite differently from how we expected at the beginning of the program, just in terms of the delivery element, but I think there's still lots to be taken from the way that we've been working, and we've continued to work in partnership. So I would say firstly, a consensus around overall aims and the sort of loose shape of a project is really useful. But balanced with a real openness to different possibilities and perspectives. Really important, I think, is identifying each organization's strength and really playing to those strengths. So whether that's in terms of expertise, capacity, space, resources, just allowing each organization to do what they do best as part of the partnership. And also just kind of informally sort of balancing what you're offering with what you're asking for, so it kind of feels like a fair partnership and feels manageable for everybody involved. I think those would be my main points.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Some really great takeaways. Yeah, that honesty, and I think that's such a good point. Just about almost having that skills, not audit, but just really recognizing everyone's strengths, what you can really bring to the board, and having that assessment maybe early on, and just forging that strategy based on those kinds of considerations. It's such a good takeaway. So thank you so much, Lou, for sharing your thoughts and learning with us. We've got, it's the programme obviously started in October 2019. We're ending in July 2022. So it feels like not so much longer to go, but so much has happened, and it's been really brilliant to see it and hear about it from you as well. So thanks again.
Thank you.